What up fam, Jay Royce here, Gym Bro, Tech Guy, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over the hands down best food tracker on the market. And no, it's not the one you're thinking of. Now, I know that tracking your food can sometimes come with a stigma of being a gym bro like this guy.
Gotta be honest with you, tastes like shit.
Absolute legend, if I must say so myself. But tracking your food is so much more important than that. If you've ever set a fitness goal for yourself, hired a personal trainer or a nutritionist, or even just gone to the doctor, your weight has a direct effect on your health, and your diet has a direct effect on your weight. So the benefit of tracking your food is clear in my opinion, but I can sympathize with you that taking the extra steps to weigh everything and scan everything into your phone can sometimes be a pain in the ass. But that's where MacroFactor comes in. MacroFactor was designed to be the fastest food logger in the industry, and in today's video I'm going to be going over a full review of the MacroFactor app, give you my likes, my dislikes, and tell you guys why this should be your food tracker of choice. With that being said, let's get right into the video. So the two main areas where MacroFactor kills MyFitnessPal is 1 in speed and 2 in coaching. And the first one we're going to be going over is speed. Now, tracking your food is definitely a tedious task, and that's why so many people struggle with it. It's because it puts a few extra steps between you and that steaming plate of fajitas. Now, in my last video, which by the way, if you missed it, check it out up here, I talked about if we want to make our habits more sustainable, like, I don't know, tracking our food, we need to reduce the friction to maintain said habit. And MacroFactor reduces the friction of tracking your food by prioritizing and optimizing the whole app for speed. Now, let's hop into the app so I can show you guys. MacroFactor has an insane feature customization menu, but there's too much to go over for each individual thing you can customize, but I'm going to show you guys exactly how I optimize my layout for speed. So the first thing we're going to be going over, guys, is the dashboard. I have my default setting when I open the app to show me the remaining calories I have left for the day, but the alternative to that is for it to show you how much you've already consumed for the day. The next thing to go over is the search bar. Now, I have found the fastest way to use this app is to have the search and barcode scanner as your toolbar, but the alternative you can use for this is the top 4 favorites, which you can also customize which 4 of those icons and in what order you want them to be laid out. Moving on to the second section is the food log page. So for my food log page, I have it tracking from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then I have the timeline on the right alignment. If you're right-handed, I recommend putting it on the right-hand side, and if you're left-handed, putting the timeline alignment on the left-hand side. And then in the timeline tile design, I have my tile density as condensed, and then I have that specific information set to that. I have the automatic move food feature, which adds a little plus icon next to each food, so you can easily move the food from hour to hour. I have the top calendar not pinned, not a big deal. And then lastly, I have the top right shortcut enabled, where I can show/hide empty hours to see all my food at a glance for the day, as well as you have a food logger, which you can log your favorite weight measurements and your volume measurements. And of course, this app allows you to have the US and metric measurements as well. And the second place that MacroFactor really shines over MyFitnessPal is with its diet planning integration. So MyFitnessPal relies on you to know your macros that are going to help you reach your fitness goals, which can be kind of intimidating for the beginner, as well as it's a plug and chug method for even the experienced food tracker. But MacroFactor, you actually set your goal on how quickly or slow you want to lose or gain weight, and then you answer a questionnaire, and then it gives you a set of macros, which I'll go over and show you guys right now. So how you start off here is go to the strategy tab in the bottom right side of the app. And the first thing we're going to do is hit new goal. And then you decide between gaining weight, maintaining weight, or losing weight. For this example, I'm going to go with losing weight. I'm going to lose about 15 pounds. Then there is a slider at the bottom that you can use to either how aggressively you'd like to lose the weight or how slowly or reserved you want to lose the weight. I'm going to go with about a pound per week of body fat that I want to lose. Then you hit the check mark. Then it prompts you to update your program. Now there are 3 coaching styles: coached, collaborative, or manual. I'm going to go with the coached for this example because if you're a more experienced food tracker, you're obviously going to want as much control as possible, and you'll probably go with manual. So then it takes us through a 6-question questionnaire. Preferred diet, I'm going to go with balanced. And then for the calorie floor, I don't recommend using the low floor. If you know, you know, but just leave it as standard floor. Then next, what type of training will you be doing? I'll be doing cardio and lifting. And then you have the option to shift your calories. I'm a fan of distribute evenly just because it keeps it simple. And then lastly, your preferred protein level. I'm a fan of the high protein level, but I feel like this app kind of shorts you on the carbs, so I'm going to keep it in the moderate range. Then it designs your plan for you pretty quick, and then it gives you your calorie breakdown at the top there, the protein, the fats, and the carbs, your macro breakdown, and then a little description about how this program was actually designed. And then you go ahead and hit start program. I'm already on one, so I'm not going to do that. And the third thing that I really like about MacroFactor over MyFitnessPal is 1, the app design, and 2, how customer centric this team is. So first, just speaking a little bit about the app design, the app is very aesthetically pleasing, super sleek design, and it's super easy to use. So I think that that's something that I really like and I thought I should mention. Second, the team behind this app is so customer centric, and I want to get in the app to show you guys what I'm talking about. So what I wanted to show you guys is in the settings of the app, MacroFactor has an open roadmap for us to view. So you click on it and it has 2 really cool features. The first is you can actually request a feature for the app and then vote on what features you guys would think would be the most valuable for the app, and then you can upvote them with the arrows. The other thing I'd like to show you guys is the open roadmap. So they actually have this Kanban style roadmap of things that they have under consideration, what they have planned that's actually going to be coming to the app, as well as things they won't do, and what they've already completed from these request a feature requests. So I think this is just a really cool commitment to quality and something I just wanted to show you guys with how seriously they take user input for the app. And the fourth thing I really like about MacroFactor is the price. Now, I'll throw up a graph to my left right here of some other competitive food tracking apps in the market. And as you can see, MacroFactor provides the most value. In terms of a month-to-month price, MacroFactor is priced competitively, but in terms of a yearly price, MacroFactor is the absolute winner. And I know you see there next to MyFitnessPal and Carbon app that it's only an $8 difference, but in those $8, you're getting so much more functionality and features with MacroFactor that the value blows those other 2 out of the water. And to wrap up the things I like about MacroFactor, the 5th section is just kind of a bunch of random things that I pulled together. So the first thing is you get this really cool graph of your total calorie expenditure as well as your weight, tracking from 1 week all the way into all time and everything you've ever put in there. The second thing is a weight tracker, which you actually need to use really consistently in order to help the diet nutrition coach make a game plan for your macro count. So make sure you guys are using that. Third, there's gonna be a micronutrient breakdown in the app that can show you, the micronutrients of each of the foods that you're eating. So if you want to get really detailed on what you're lacking and how to supplement in your diet, you can do that. Derek, More Plates, More Dates, is actually a fan of that. That seems like way too much work. And then lastly, MacroFactor boasts the largest verified food database by a website called Nutritionix, which makes sure that you are recording the most accurate food possible, which I think is a really big selling point, but does have a downside or two, which I'll talk about in this next section. Now, I love MacroFactor, but this app isn't perfect because let's be honest, what app is actually perfect? So the first thing I actually dislike about the app is the integrated nutrition coach. Now, I will say I haven't followed a specific plan from the app for an extended amount of time, but I do a lot of research in inputting my own personal macros into the app and then putting the same goals in the app and having it give me a plan and then kind of comparing the 2 numbers. Now, when I did that comparison, the numbers really didn't match up and the difference was pretty significant and I never really could figure out a good way for that. But nutrition as a whole is extremely complex. Alongside, none of us are gonna respond the same way to the same diet. So there is a lot of room for variation. I don't think this app can ever fully replace a nutritionist or a fitness coach, but is more than serviceable for beginners and fitness enthusiasts or food trackers like myself. And the second dislike I have about MacroFactor is that MyFitnessPal has a way bigger food database. But this is both a good and a bad thing. So with MyFitnessPal, it has a huge food database, and anything that you can track has probably already been logged by somebody else, so it takes the guesswork out of you trying to track it. But the problem that we run into is there could be 7 different measurements for the same food item, so which one is the most accurate? Now, the issue that I've been running into with MacroFactor is that I feel like I've gone to some pretty large national chains like In-N-Out, Chipotle, and Panda Express, to name a few, and I feel like sometimes parts and bits and pieces of the menu are there, but it's oftentimes hard to kind of put my whole meal together, which has made tracking in this area kind of difficult. But like we talked about earlier, MacroFactor has the world's largest verifiable food database, meaning that all the food that we're tracking is accurately measured. So I do love this commitment to quality, but sometimes I run into these national chains and I feel like every menu item should easily be available as well as verifiable. And the third thing I feel like I have to mention is that MacroFactor doesn't offer a free version. Now, with MyFitnessPal, there is a free version, but it does come with ads, and the food scanner is now behind their paywall. So unfortunately, I can see this being a downside for MacroFactor because there is a free option on the market, and it's a more than serviceable app as a food tracker. And there was some other dislikes that I found from some other users in some other videos, but I want to show you how those were actually handled. So in some other videos that I saw on the MacroFactor app, 2 complaints that I saw from 2 separate videos was one being body measurements, or a place to measure certain areas of your body to track your progress that way, as well as a water tracking system inside the app. And I just wanted to show you guys in that roadmap, these 2 features, as in body measurements and the water tracker app, have actually been put into the plan section. I just wanted to show you guys the power of the feature request and how it actually works to make the app better. So who is MacroFactor actually for? Well, in my opinion, I think it's great for everybody. So for beginners, it gives you an intro to macros, how to structure a diet, that guided coaching, as well as it's a small barrier to entry as opposed to just straight out going and hiring a nutritionist. And for more experienced food trackers such as myself, it gives us a lot more insight and data than a normal food tracking app was, and can help us guide where we want our diets to go so that we can achieve our results much quicker. Now, on top of the fact, this team is so customer centric and providing the best app experience possible that I do really think this app is for everyone. Now, who is MacroFactor not for? Well, there's only really 3 categories. So 1, if you're looking for a free app, well, this just isn't it, and MyFitnessPal is probably your best bet. And the second one is if you're halfway in and halfway out of recording your food. So the algorithm works best is if you're recording all your days with all your meals and your weight to give you the most accurate representation of the data and how to move forward with your diet. But if you find yourself often just recording breakfast or dinner or whatever, the money may not be worth it because you're messing up the algorithm and you may not be receiving the value. And lastly, the third person is the experienced food tracker who you know what your body needs, you know how to diet, and you just need something to record the calories for the information. And in that case, MyFitnessPal may be your best bet, so you don't have to spend the extra money. But if you're on the fence about MacroFactor, something cool that they do is I'll post in the link below. I emailed them seeing if my subscribers or anybody who views this video could get a 2-week discount. I'm not sure if they'll get back to me by the time this video is posted, but I left a link down below on a list of all of their affiliates, and with any of those codes, you can get a 2-week free trial to try MacroFactor out for yourself. All in all, guys, I can hands down say MacroFactor is the best food tracker on the market. Minus it being a paid app, I don't really see another app that compares in terms of value and user experience. So that is my opinion. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you guys so much, and please consider smashing that subscribe button. I do a ton of research to make sure that I can bring you guys the best possible reviews on the best possible products because I want to make your guys' lives easier. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much and see you in the next one. Peace.